Welcome back to NASCAR Thunder 2004 for race 13 to 36. We just wrapped up qualifying a few moments ago. Dylan Murray laid down a blistering fast lap that knocked Earnhardt Jr. and last week's winner Jeff Gordon off of the front row. Dylan Murray unfortunately lost the points lead to Jimmy Johnson last week after his second DNF of the season. Jeff Gordon would end up winning the Coca-Cola 600 after that on a long green flag run as we head to the Motor City. Which manufacturer will battle for supremacy today?
MRN is coming to you live from Michigan International Speedway for today's Sirius 400. Michigan always produces some great racing. What do you think, Barney?
Well, look for speeds approaching 200 miles an hour and cars running 3 and 4 wide. That's a recipe for some exciting stuff.
The 64 car has been building his reputation as a rough driver out there on the track.
He'd be better off if he'd let things cool down. It's a race, not a demolition derby.
Kenny Wallace hasn't made much of a move in the points so far.
And how frustrating that must be. You're working just as hard as everyone else, yet you just can't seem to finish well on race days to gain the valuable points you need. These guys need a good finish just to regain their confidence as a team.
Steve Park has had some tough breaks during his still young Winston Cup career. He missed a bunch of races in both 98 and 2001 due to injury.
Yes, and unfortunately those injuries cost him a shot at Rookie of the Year and his first top 10 points finish. But he's back now, and it's good as ever.
Gentlemen, start your engine.
Well, here's the starting lineup.
In the front row are the 64 car and the Dale Jr. Chevrolet. In the second row are the DuPont Chevrolet and the Altel Dodge. Starting the race from row 3 are the Sterling Marlin Dodge and the Team Rusty Dodge. The fourth row has the Dodge Dealers UAW Dodge and the Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet. Starting the race from row 5 will be a Pfizer Ford and the 29 car. In row 6, we have the Singular Wireless Chevrolet and the Stacker 2 Dodge. Starting from row 7 will be the O2 car and the Tide Pontiac. In the 8th row are the Motorcraft Ford and the Valvoline Pontiac. In the 9th row, we have the Dodge Dealers UAW Dodge and the Rubbermaid Sharpie Ford. In the 10th row are the Interstate Battery Chevrolet and the UPS Ford. Jimmy Johnson, the NASCAR Winston Cup points leader, will begin the race from the middle of the field. In row 12 are the Haviland Dodge and the Caterpillar Dodge. Row 13 finds the M&M's Ford and the Citgo Ford. The 14th row has the 41 car and the America Online Chevrolet. In row 15 are the DeWalt Power Tools Ford and the UAW Delphi Chevrolet. Starting the race from row 16 are the 57 car and the Granger Ford. Row 17 has the Hooters Ford and the Georgia Pacific Dodge. Starting in row 18 will be the Autobahn Ford and the 49 car. In row 19 are the Net Zero Pontiac and the U.S. Army Pontiac. row 20 are the Kodak Max Film Pontiac and the Kellogg Chevrolet. Back in row 21, we have the Cheerios Dodge and the Pennzoil Chevrolet. And rounding out the field is the David Green Pontiac.
As we head to the summer stretch of the Winston Cup campaign, we begin today with a race at the Motor City. Will it be? They always say back in the day that those that were fast on Sunday usually sold on Monday. That adage still holds true to this day. Dylan Murway and Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the front row. The Coke 600 winner Jeff Gordon starting today in third. Points leader Jimmy Johnson, regular season points leader Jimmy Johnson, I should add, will start all the way back in the 21st position. Pace car is off. Field brings him down. Green flag at Michigan. It took a while on that initial start for the inside lane to really get good momentum, but out front, Dylan Murway gets away and is going to tuck right behind the 8 of Earnhardt Jr. by the looks of it, while Ryan Newman and Jeff Gordon fight it out for third. Jr. will lead lap 1, with Dylan Murway second, Jeff Gordon taking third, Ryan Newman fourth, and Bill Elliott rounding out the top 5.
Number 8 is still there.
50 laps today here at Michigan. This is a similarly designed track to Auto Club Speedway out in Fontana, California, which we will return to under the lights in the playoffs to open up the round of 12. And it's very similar because restarts can get nuts, starts can get nuts. You can see drivers going 3-4 wide in the corners, 3-4 wide on the straights. It's an engine nightmare too, because you saw in the qualifying lap, Dylan Murway turned 203 miles an hour going into turn 1. Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon turned 201 on their laps. So engine tuners, this race is a nightmare. This in California are arguably the two biggest nightmares on the Winston Cup circuit in terms of engine performance. Because nobody knows if their engines are going to hold up, if their engine's going to detonate, how reliable will they be under the high RPM stress. You can see Dylan Murway is turning 7,900 RPMs in the corners on average. And coming towards the straights, Dylan Murway almost hit 9,000 RPMs in the corners. That's how fast he's going. Junior and Gordon continue to fight for second. Dylan Murway is out front and enjoying some clean air early on here in the Sirius Satellite Radio 400 at Michigan. Jeff Gordon looks to have the spot on Junior for second. He clears. Junior goes under with the crossover. Looked like Junior has the spot, but Gordon might have the advantage on the outside lane, and he will take it and move Gordon up to the second spot. You can kind of see when cars are side by side in these corners, as you kind of saw initially on that start. Junior got a good jump going into turn 1. Luckily, Dylan Murway was able to put the power down coming off turn 2, and he's able to take the lead, and Dylan doesn't seem like he wants to let it go. Ryan Newman and Rusty Wallace round out the top 5 right now. 7 laps are complete in the Sirius 400. Oh, pause. Dylan Murray has probably about a half-second lead on Jeff Gordon. Going down the back, a little over half a second. Earnhardt Jr. is third. So far, you can kind of see that 24 Chevrolet barely starting to fade in the mirror as the man in black continues to pull away here in turns 3 and 4. You can see the speeds that Dylan has reached. 202 going into turn 1. That's got to do a number on the engine. It's going to be interesting doing victory burnouts. You're going to see the winner probably blow a motor. This track is very similar to Auto Club Speedway in terms of design and how hard it is on the engine. Dylan Murray won California when we were out at California the first time, and California's coming up in the playoffs. You can look for him to be strong there. 10 laps complete in the Sirius 400. At the Michigan International Speedway. So far, the top 5 seems to be relatively unchanged as they jostle through the pack. Next couple weeks, we have 2 more road courses. We have the visit out to the Pocono Road Course and then Sonoma at night. First time in history, we will have a road course race that's run under the lights. It's an experiment that Sonoma was going to try last year. Infineon was going to try last year, but didn't secure the funding from the state to install temporary lighting fixtures to run a road course race under the lights. This year, they're going to be doing it as a temp experiment. See how it plays out. And then we got a race at Dover before we head to the Brickyard for the midway point of the season. Well, the official midway point of the season. Dylan Murray is all but checked out on Jeff Gordon as Earnhardt Jr. and Rusty Wallace continue to fight for third. Bobby Labonte has passed Ryan Newman for fifth. Dylan Murray has not lifted off the throttle since this race began. .178 in the average of 170 in the corners and a speed of 193 at the line. Wow. Pretty solid battle we got going on for fifth between Bobby Labonte in the 18 and Ryan Newman in the 12. But out front, it's been the Dylan Murray show all afternoon. Here in this first stage of the Sirius 400, getting close to green flag pit stops. We typically see long green flag runs at this track due to how big it is and how strung out they get. It's almost like Vegas in a way. You compared to the races, the next 2 tracks we have, or arguably 3 because we're racing at Dover. Compared to the next 3 tracks, there's a very minimal chance you're going to see a concern or a big wreck or 1 or 2 crashes during the race. Very minimal chance. The nice thing about these corners, too, Dylan Murway can run multiple lanes up. You kind of saw he did take an interesting line in turn 3 there, kind of moving up towards the top side of the racetrack. Might be partially because his tires are wearing down. But even then, he's still putting down an amazing lap time. Almost like he's basically running qualifying laps at this point. And then back down into the bottom for turn 3.
Awesome.
201 miles an hour going into turn 1 and then back down to 179. Or 175 is the slowest he's been since the green flag was displayed earlier today. And then Dylan Murway is just building up some insane speed going into these corners. Look at the lead that Dylan Murway has opened up on Jeff Gordon going into turn 1. 3.2 seconds over the DuPont Chevrolet. Dylan Murway is just now probably a little over halfway down the backstretch. And then straight into turn 3, he has not lifted off the throttle once today. And tire wear's kind of been a thing, but he just finds a line, lets that car rip.
38.56. That's the quickest one so far.
Could be getting close to green flag pit stops in the next lap or two.
That car ain't running much longer. You need fuel.
As it looks like nobody pits here, but Dylan Murway is all but in the next zip code right now. Here today in the Sirius 400. As Dylan Murway continues to run some blistering fast laps as he opens up his lead to 4 seconds over Jeff Gordon. Got a slow car on the backstretch. Wonder who that is. Probably a back marker by the looks of it. We'll find out shortly. It is the 97 of Kurt Busch. Huge. Moment's huge. This is going to be huge for him in points. In terms of regular season points. Dylan Murway is already... Remember, Kurt Busch is already in because of his win at the Daytona 500. But that's going to be huge for him because many people pointed to the Jack Roush drivers to be fast today. And Dylan Murway will come out 41st. And just barely avoid getting lapped by the leader, Jeff Gordon. Dylan Murway came into pit a lap early, so everybody else should be pitting very shortly, depending on how this race plays out. Kurt Busch has already fallen 3 laps down. Kevin LePage is currently out of the race, unfortunately. Really surprising that nobody else has pitted yet. I guess the field might be banking on a caution. Up to this point. By the way, Kevin LePage also fell out of the race. Forgot to mention that earlier. As it looks like green flag pit stops are beginning right now. A couple cars heading their way down pit road. Dylan Murray trying to use that time to make up the time that he's lost. He's still the fastest car on the racetrack. Because he took the lead and basically spanked them in the opening portion of the event. Junior led a couple laps. Dylan Murray took the lead, and he is basically all but hid. Jeff Gordon is down on pit road as of right now. And it looks like the majority are starting to come in as well here. Seeing some more cars down pit lane for their round green flag stops. While we do this, let's go ahead and listen to NASCAR on Fox style. Crank it up.
38-68. That's a quick one, buddy. Keep it up. The leaders are fit. You got some passes left in there somewhere. I know you do. Coming up on a car exiting pit road. Okay, buddy, we're faster than the leader. Let's get up there. NASCAR says that's halfway. The leaders are coming into pit.
Green flag pit stops have completed. Dylan Murray will cycle out as the leader once he comes out of turn 4, as multiple other cars are a lap down or in process of being lapped. You see Dylan Murray get by the 60 car, Stanton Barrett. Put him a lap down. The Audubon Ford, as Dylan Murray will take the lead from the 31 Robbie Gordon, who came down and led a lap today on pit road. See the 43 of Fittipaldi coming onto the racetrack. And Dylan Murray will settle to probably an even bigger lead here than he had at the start of the race when he took the lead from Earnhardt Jr., who fell to third. "27 laps complete. We are working lap 28. Tony Stewart took some advantage of some early pit strategy, and he's made his way into the top 5. Dylan Murray, meanwhile, is out front and gone. We have another car that is blowing up on the apron. That is the 2 of Rusty Wallace. He was involved in that crash last Saturday night in the Coke 600. That ended Dylan Murray's race. 22 laps to go in the Sirius 400. Dylan Murway is all but hid, as we have two drivers that have fallen out of the race due to engine troubles. So we've had one Ford and one Dodge, or two Fords technically. Kevin LePage had an engine problem at the start of the race. As we've reached 21 laps to go here in the Sirius 400 at Michigan, Dylan Murway is all but hid at this point. There's not a whole lot of traffic in front of him, like maybe 3 cars. Jeff Gordon's got a lot of space to make up if he wants to have a shot at catching Dylan Murway. And that's what it's probably going to take. It's going to be a shot.
That's the lap time I'm looking for. Keep it up, buddy. 20 to go. Final time. We're all around. The right front's wearing down. Keep an eye on it.
Dylan Murway lapping David Green. His next target up ahead is Mike Skinner, and after that is another car, while the rest of the pack is pretty much strung out at this point. And that car is the 0 of Jack Sprague. Dylan Murway has opened a massive lead over Jeff Gordon. This actually is playing out pretty similar to Atlanta, when Dylan Murway ran a caution-free race, dominated the entire event, and had a massive lead over who else? Jeff Gordon. Jack Sprague goes a lap down as well. So after that, it's not a whole lot of traffic between him and Dylan Murway ahead. The next 2 cars just got to the start-finish line. Dylan Murway is fast. And speaking of fast, how about the 18 of Bobby Labonte? He's made his way to the 3rd spot. Dylan Murway comes out of turn 4. He has led the most laps today, looking to cap that off with another classic win as he adds another second gap to Jeff Gordon in 2nd. Greg Biffle is there in the 16. Next car to go 1 lap down. Next car, and probably several more after this. $16 to go. 17 to go. There'll be 16 at the line. Dylan will put Biffle a lap down. Surprisingly, he didn't completely block the 64. I guess that feud's been put over. I guess the feud between Greg Biffle and Dylan Murway has officially been put over, as Dylan Murway has just flown by the 16 without any provocation. Or any need for provocation. Dylan Murway will put Ken Schrader 1 lap down, as Dylan Murway has a 10-second lead over Jeff Gordon. 10 full seconds.
Watch your fuel.
All that and then some. Place. Dylan Murway with a huge lead over Jeff Gordon. He's got 10 seconds on him. I don't even know where Jeff Gordon's at on the map right now on the track, but he's way behind Dylan Murway, who's pretty much putting qualifying laps down and should probably consider heading down pit road this next lap or two. Pit next time, bud. Pit next time. We can't make it. We can't make it.
38-69.
And you see the word from the crew chief. Pit next time. Dylan Murway will have to come down and pit. Doesn't have a whole lot of cars in front of him, behind him, or anybody for that matter. As Dylan Murway comes down the backstretch. Hand signals to behind just to be sure. And slams on the brakes for the final pit stop of the afternoon. Just as he gets to pit road, oh my God. Pit stop looks to be clean and green here. Dylan Murway comes out of pit lane onto the racetrack. And probably a lap down. Comes out in 32nd place. Currently, the top 5 as it sits: Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Bobby Labonte, Tony Stewart, and Ryan Newman round out the top 5. We look through the rest of the field. Seems pretty standard for Michigan. Solid run for Michael Waltrip, though, running in 8th today. How about that? Very solid run. And then Dylan Murway begins his 10-lap sprint to hopefully make up all the time he lost and cap off what has been a very stellar performance. Ten laps left in the Sirius 400. Dylan Murway has led 31 of 50 laps today. Right now, he began the first round of green flag stops. Surprisingly, nobody else has come down just yet. Maybe Dylan Murway's trying to play the angle, make up at least a little bit of time before people do. Dylan Murway sucking right to the back bumper of Brett Bodine. Gets by him. Puts Bodine a lap down. Or back for position. The leader is just now getting into turn 1. Somehow we haven't seen pit stops yet You ran last time. It took about 3 laps before people even thought about coming to pit road. I'm guessing they might be good to the finish. Who knows? Really curious to see why people haven't pitted yet. As it looks like, will it be this time for Gordon? Nope. Dylan Murway's just running at this point, trying to make up all the spots he can. Because if he banks on a caution, that might cut it close if we have to red flag the race for cleanup. If we get a yellow, because we got 8 laps to go. The red flag lap today is lap 47. In order for, well, the furthest we can go is 47. But there it is. Just heard leaders are heading down pit road, so this should mean that we should see several drivers come down for final stops, especially guys like Gordon Jr. and Labonte, who are banking on their fuel to go all the way to the finish. Guess it didn't quite work out. Dylan Murray has passed Gordon for 26th. Jeff Gordon for 26th. So depending on when more of these cars start cycling out, then Dylan Murray should be back on the lead lap here. By the way, next Saturday, you can tune in at 1 o'clock Eastern for the running of the Keystone State 500 from the Pocono Road Course. Mark Martin won in a crash-filled event last year where we see similar chaos at the Tricky Triangle. Tune in next Saturday, 1 o'clock Eastern. 5 laps to go here in the Sirius 400. Seeing a lot of pit strategy as drivers head down pit road. Should see the last few. Dylan Murray gets by Nemechek for 24th and begins his sprint to the top. Really surprising we haven't seen the rest of the field pit yet. Could get interesting in these next few laps. Oh, Mears gets into Nadu. They're both in the wall. We do stay green. Three laps to go here in the Sirius 400. More cars. Looks like thought Robert Gordon was going to come to pit road there. 3 laps to go. Bobby Labonte is your race leader. Oh, Dylan Murray and Elliott Sadler going at it here in turn 1 for position. There it is. More drivers heading to pit lane. The fuel couldn't hold for Labonte, so him and probably several other cars are going to be heading to pit road. Two laps to go. Fittipaldi running in 6th. Sorry, that looks like Kenseth running in the 6th position. Nope. That's Fittipaldi in the 43. We should see him coming to pit road very shortly. Coming out of turn 4. No, it's Jamie McMurray with a nice run for him. The white flag is waved in the Sirius 400. Ryan Newman makes his way out of turn 2. And it looks like he might have played the fuel strategy game perfect. Better than anybody in the field. as he makes his way through 3 and 4. Checkered flag in the air. Cars on pit road. Several running out of gas. Does Newman have enough? As they come out of turn 4, looks like Ryan Newman is going to win the Sirius 400, playing the fuel mileage game perfect. Several cars ran out of gas. Looks like Jarrett ran out. Coming to the checkers there.
Not a single caution lap was run in the whole race.
Well, that's good news for all these race teams because that can mean one thing: no major wrecks.
The 64 car gets a strong top 5 finish.
You know, all the guys on that team should be very happy with their performance.
The 64 car has begun a new rivalry on the racetrack.
You don't make it into Winston Cup racing without being competitive, and sometimes these instincts get a little out of hand. Should be fun to see what happens next.
Thanks for joining us. For Barney Hall and the rest of us here at EA Sports and MRN, we'll see you next time.
So, Ryan Newman earns his first win of the season here in the Sirius 400. Dylan Murway unfortunately couldn't make the fuel last. Ends up with a top 5 finish. I want to give a shout out to Jamie McMurray for finishing 10th. Staying out. So, Ryan Newman wins today in the Sirius 400. Mark Martin finishes second. Great run for Michael Waltrip. He ends up third. Kevin Harvick finishes fourth. Dylan Murway will end up fifth. Dale Jarrett sixth. Elliott Sadler seventh. Robbie Gordon eighth. Terry Labonte ninth. Jamie McMurray will round out the top 10. We saw 10 lead changes today. Time of race, a little over 30 minutes. Average speed, 178 miles an hour. And margin of victory, 3 seconds, 3.4. So we have 10 lead changes among 7 drivers. Cars that fell out of the race, Jeff Burton, Rusty Wallace, Kurt Busch, and Kevin LePage all fell out due to engine trouble. Tough break today for guys like Jeremy Mayfield starting 17th, Kenny Wallace, Ward Burton, Jimmy Johnson. Dylan Murway probably will reassume the Winston Cup points, the regular season points lead after this. Jeff Gordon ended up 12th today after finishing 3rd. But Ryan Newman celebrates big. Fuel strategy pays off. He is into the playoffs. It's going to be stacked. All I can say is those playoffs look pretty stacked. So it's going to be interesting. Anyway, so next week we'll be at the Pocono Raceway for the running of the Keystone State 500. Dylan Murway leapfrogs Jimmy Johnson by 60 points. So for the awards, Dylan Murway won the pole, led the most laps. Terry Labonte passed the most cars. Bobby Labonte had the fastest lap. Dylan Murway was the best rookie. Dale Jarrett made the best pass. Dylan Murway has a huge chokehold on Jamie McMurray in the Winston Cup Rookie of the Year standings. And in the pole award, Dylan Murway and Dale Jr. have won 9 poles between the two. Everybody else has won 1 pole. Chevrolet has 7 points over Dodge in the Manufacturer Championship. Ford is 11 points back, and Pontiac is 48 back. Dylan Murray continues to dominate in the EA Sports Lap Champion Award. See you next Saturday for the Keystone State 500. Have a great afternoon.